So welcome to rational equations. Let me go ahead and get started on our model problem. Definitely do the do now, especially for this one. So first thing we have to do is we have to get a common denominator. So 5 to 10, right? 5 times 2 is 10. So to get this number right here, the 5 to be a 10, I have to multiply it by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. To get this 2 to be a 10, I multiply it by 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And this is already a 10. Okay. So what we just did right now is we found the least common multiple, which is 10. Okay. So now, once the denominators are the same, you could literally go like this. They cancel out, and it becomes an algebra 1 problem. So what do I mean by that, right? You have 2 times 4x, which is 8x, plus 3 times 5 is 15, equals x plus 1. Okay, we know how to do this. Minus x from both sides, minus x. You could have solved this many ways. 7x plus 15 is equal to 1. Subtract 15 from both sides. You get 7x is equal to negative 14. Divide both sides by 7, and you get x equals negative 2. Okay. Once you have an answer, so we just did this, we just did this, plug solutions. We got to check our work to make sure that we don't have anything that's no errors, okay? So if I take the negative 2 and I plug it in, so I'm only going to check this once. So far right now, I think x equals negative 2. So I'm going to hit negative 2, hit store, and I'm going to put that in for x, hit enter. And now what I'm going to do to check is I'm going to plug in the left side of the equal sign. So we'll go back to the original. So I have a fraction, so alpha y equals option number 1, right? I'm only plugging in what is in black. So on I have 4x on the top. On the bottom, I have 5. If you don't store the negative 2 in for x, this will not work properly. Plus, and then fraction again, alpha y equals, option number 1, 3 over 2, and hit enter. And that gives us negative 1/10, okay? So now to see if it works, I'm going to also plug this in. So I have alpha y equals, option number 1, x plus 1, and then on the bottom, you're going to plug in the number 10, hit enter, and boom, these two match. So that means that x equals 2 is a solution, okay? Like I said, I'm only checking this once. Model problem number 2. So we have to get a least common multiple, so same thing, right? I have an x minus 1 here. They are married together. Then I have an x that's chilling by itself. That is not the same thing as x minus 1. I cannot just do minus 1 because this is multiplication. So here, what I do is I'm going to take this right here, the x squared minus x, and I'm going to factor it. So what goes into both x squared and x, and what am I left with, right? If I divide this by x, there's 2 x's on top, 1 on the bottom. When I divide that, I get 1 on the bottom. And divide this by x, x divided by x is minus 1. And so this is a 1 on top equals. I'm going to just rewrite it so that way I don't lose anyone. Okay. And now what we have to do is we have to get the denominators to be the same. So what is our least common multiple? It's x. I want to switch to color. Help me help you. Okay. So x parentheses x minus 1 is going to be our least common multiple. Okay. So it's already over here. Over here I have the x minus 1, but I'm missing the x. So whatever I do to the bottom, I also do to the top, just like in the problem above, okay? Over here, I have the x, and I'm missing the x minus 1. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, okay? This already has an x and an x minus 1 in it. Beautiful. So now I take out my red, right? Cancel that whole bottom out, and then simplify. So let's go to purple here, right? All right. So x times x gives me x squared minus, this is 2 parentheses x minus 1 equals 1, okay? So remember, this is the most common mistake that people make. I'm just going to show you this. Let's go into a brown color. Negative 2, right, gets distributed here. So I have negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 1. The x squared just comes down, equals 1 just comes down. Okay, so now this turns into what we've been doing for some time now, which is factoring. So I don't know why I'm switching so many colors right now, but whatever. So minus 1, maybe it'll help you see better. Oh, okay, both of these cancel out. So now I have x squared minus 2x is equal to 0. So now here I factor out an x. There's an x that's common in both. If I divide this by x, I get x. If I divide this by x, I get a minus 2 equals 0. Almost done. Set each of these equal to 0. So x equals 0 is one answer that I think, and x minus 2 equals 0 is add 2, and I get x equals 2 as my other answer that I think. So now what we're going to do is what we did before, to store it, we're going to store this x equals 0 in, right? Go back to the original, plug this in right here in black, plug this in and see if they are the same, and they will not be the same, okay? I want you to actually do it. Do not take my word for it. They are not the same. So x equals 0 does not work. I need to put that down. And then over here, if I plug in the 2, that does work. So x equals 2 is going to be my only answer. And again, don't take my word for it, right? Store that number. So this is how you do it again, right? 0, you hit store into x, hit enter, right? And then you're going to plug in the left, plug in the right, and see if they're the same thing, just like we did here for the other one, okay? All right, model problem 3. So always start out by factoring. So here I have a double bubble here. Chances are these two numbers are what's going to be here. So x minus 3 and x minus 1. Let's see if that works, right? X times x is x squared. Negative 1x, negative 3x gives me negative 4x. Negative 3 times negative 1 gives me positive 3. Okay? So let's go back to doing stuff that's missing. So this now has a 2 on the top equals, I'm going to bring all this down, plus 2x over x minus 1. Please don't skip steps. And then we're going to write down what is missing from here, right? Let's go with a brown. So here I have the x minus 1, so our least common multiple is x minus 3 and x minus 1. It's both of them. So here I have the x minus 1, so what's missing? X minus 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Over here I have the x minus 3, I'm missing the x minus 1. X minus 1. And again, whenever I have all the denominators the same, as you can clearly tell, this is my favorite part, right? Making less work for me. So then I'm going to write down the stuff that's left. So I have 2x times x gives me 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 gives me negative 3x. 1 times x gives me 1x. And 1 times negative 1 gives me negative 1. Okay, and this is equal to 2. All right, so now I'm just going to go into my mode of solving. So here, let's go with this color. Why not? So I'm going to combine like terms and do the minus 2, minus 2. I have to set this equal to 0 is basically what I'm doing. So I have 2x squared, negative 3x plus 1x gives me negative 2x. This is negative 3 equals 0. For this one, I would definitely get my calculator. So for the calculator, you're going to go to apps and you're going to find Polysymbols 2. So on our school calculators, it's like 8, 9, or 0. On mine right now, it's 2. It doesn't matter what number it is. I'm going to click it or press it whenever it feels like letting me. Come on. There we go. So when you get to that, right, press any key. I'm just going to hit enter. And so now I'm doing a root finder, right? There's no systems of equations here. There's no 3 variables or 2 variables, right? There's just one variable. So I'm going to do option number 1, which is poly root finder. So order, let me just move this over here. What the order is the highest exponent. Okay, so if I look over here, right, 2 is there. There's a 1 here and there's a 0 here. So I go to my calculator and the order is 2. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to put, since this is algebra 2, I'm going to put that imaginary numbers are allowed. Decimal fraction, sure, I'm going to leave it as a fraction so I don't have to round. Everything else stays the same. So I'm going to hit next, which is the graph button. And now I'm plugging in what I have, right? So the number in front of the x squared is a 2. The number in front of the x is a negative 2. And the number that's by itself is a negative 3. So let me just go ahead and plug that in, right? So number in front of x squared is a 2. The number in front of the x is a negative 2. And the number that's by itself is negative 3. And then I'm going to hit graph so it can solve it for me. And those are my answers. Let's see if it changes into a fraction for me. It does not, okay? So something triggered me as I got this. Like, why am I getting these decimals? So when I looked back at this, I didn't do something. And you didn't stop me on the video. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Okay? So now negative 6x plus 1x. Just make sure everything else is good. Okay. This is going to be negative 5x. Negative 6, right? Plus 1x is negative 5x. Everything else looks good so far. Okay, so now let me go to my calculator. There's a good reason though I'm making this mistake. I know this video is a little bit longer, but we do that, right? We're all human. So I'm going to go back into the main. So I'm going to press this y equals, option number 1 again. Still, all of this is good. I'm going to hit graph for next. So now instead of the negative 2, I'm going to now put negative 5. Ooh, negative 5. Okay, and then hit solve. There we go. So here's my two answers, right? X equals 3 and x equals negative 5. So x equals 3 and x equals negative, it's not negative 5, silly, negative 0.5, right? Negative 0.5. And so because my calculator is giving this to me, I do not need to go through, but I do need to check it, okay? So x equals 3, when I plug it back into my original, I know that x, remember, store it. So take the 3, let's quit this, right? So option number 6 is quit. So now I'm going to do 3, store that in for x, hit enter, plug in the left, right? All of this right here, plug in the right, and you will see that it will not work. So x equals 3 does not work. X equals negative 1.5 or negative 1/2 is our only answer. X equals negative 0.5. And again, our calculator helped us get that, okay? All right, that is today's lesson. Good job.